All right, it is 4:30. If we can make sure we are streaming, we'll start there. Let me know if anyone finds it before me. We are live on Facebook. Did anyone check YouTube?
I'm checking it now. We are live on YouTube.
Awesome. Okay, so broadcast is good, and I would, I guess we can do a roll call. Just say your name, and we'll start at the end.
Steve Romanelli.
Thomas Dewhurst.
Bobby Glasser.
Tressa Greshak.
Sharon Deaver.
Rob Lekas.
Damaris Potter.
And Dave Taback.
Awesome. Welcome, new members. Okay, and I would, oh my goodness, accept a motion to approve the agenda as is, unless anyone had any adjustments.
I move that we accept the agenda as written.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Thomas and Steve. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we can vote to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Signify aye. Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, that is unanimous. And same with, we have the minutes for last month's meeting for March 20th. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'll motion to accept.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All right, and any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Signify, okay.
I'm going to abstain if you don't mind, since
Okay.
I watched it, but I don't really feel that I should.
Okay, did you get the emails so far?
No.
Okay, so I was using your email from your application, so if you had a different email, we need to know, so we can
Okay.
get you to get those emails.
All right, I'll check that out.
Okay, otherwise that was approved by everyone. So moving forward. Okay, no communication from city staff to the board. And public comment. Can we check to see if we have anyone on the line? And if there's anyone in the audience that wanted to do a public comment, you could come forward now as well. We did get one email that we'll go over as well. I can't see over there if we have a public comment. Do we have anything? It's okay. Okay, no comments on the phone lines.
All right, so we received an email. They might be attending a meeting at a later date, but I thought we might as well ask the question, see if we can get them a good answer. This is from LaShonda. I'm so sorry if I slaughtered that. She says, they want to know if the city of Kalamazoo is aware of Eagle's new grant that is offering rebates to upgrade to clean energy equipment and improve energy efficiency, reduce outdoor and indoor air pollution, and create workforce training programs. Is the city aware of the grant? And if a representative has been in contact with the Michigan Department of Eagle to see how these funds can assist Kalamazoo. Have we heard of this grant? Are we doing anything with this grant? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, It's hard to say without the actual name of the grant, but we are looking at grants almost daily. So send me that email and I'll try to suss out what the name of the grant is and I'll get a better answer on that.
Okie dokie, thank you.
All right, and that was the only thing, unless there was, I didn't see anyone in the audience that wanted to comment. So moving forward to new business, we have a presentation today. Would you like to intro?
Yeah, I'll do a quick introduction. Miss Haley Iglewski is here. She is with my company from our Brighton, Michigan office, and she's going to tell you about quite a pioneering program that she's been involved with since its inception in Canton Township, which is in Wayne County, Greater Detroit area, and I'll let her go. Also, if I start coughing, I am not contagious, but I have a lingering cough or pneumonia or something, so if I die, it's don't worry, it's not contagious.
Hi, I'm Haley Iglewski with Michigan Consulting and Environmental. Bobby invited me out here today because I'm involved in our company's sustainability committee. So we get involved, well, we're researching and becoming proficient in a lot of different aspects about the sustainability avenue, since that's where a lot of the environmental world is going towards today. So we've been looking into like the new materials management plans that are going to be are mandated by Eagle's amendment to Part 115, composting, carbon swaps, etc. So my wheelhouse is composting, and I have been working on a program for Canton Township over in Wayne County. So I just have a quick little presentation about it. So it started from, initially Canton Township was interested in having a composting facility in their community. They have their own landfill, but the lifespan of the landfill is kind of in its last decade, so they're trying to combat that as well as they can by diverting whatever they can from landfill as often as they can, and then kind of having a plan in place now for when their landfill fills up. So their initial plan was to build a composting facility in their community. So they contacted us to do a feasibility study, and I unfortunately was not at the company at that point, so I wasn't directly involved with the feasibility study, but unfortunately it didn't work out for them. Just the infrastructure involved, the cost involved, and the site they had picked out was a wetland. So that's a whole different ballgame, and obviously that couldn't happen. So we kind of shifted gears towards a volunteer-based program to start. So a pilot study where we reached out to the community, and this is when I became involved, reached out to the community and said, hey, who has experience with composting, who has interest in composting, and we told them about the benefits of landfill diversion and how that's kind of where the state of Michigan is moving towards, is a way more sustainable practice for their waste. So we had a great response from the community, and we decided to have a year-long pilot study. And so the basic setup is we had 4 locations placed throughout the community where we had 3 to 10 64-gallon carts, like just a regular trash can, but they're bright green, say food waste only, and they're scattered throughout the community. And we allowed 500 people to volunteer just for the pilot study. And so each volunteer was provided with a 2-gallon over or under the counter or countertop food waste collection bucket, and then the drop-off sites are open 24/7. Members can go and drop off their food waste whenever they want at their convenience, and they get to keep their little bucket. And we provided this, the picture up there is just super basic, bare bones, what is and is not allowed to be composted. The benefit of a commercial composting facility is a lot of times in backyard compost, it's very strict on what you can and cannot compost. However, this is a question that we got a lot because we say that we accept dairy products and meat and bones, which are the most difficult organic materials, at least food waste, organic materials to break down. And that's the benefit of having a large facility, because they have the infrastructure, they have the equipment able to turn those materials and have the process last, they can have a more of a long-term pile that they're turning and working with. So we had, very quickly, we filled up our 500 person allotment, and we actually ended up increasing that to 600, just because let the people do it if they want to do it. So, and it's just more data points. So we had the local drop-off sites, and we started with 5 carts at each location, and we right-sized them based on usage. Like our site central, we started with 5. We now have 10 carts there. And then one of our sites that's way over on the east side of the community, we ended up going down to 3, and that one's actually at a school. So we, excuse me, sorry. So the cool thing about the composting is for our volunteers, the facility that does the process, they take in the food waste, they actually provide compost. We provide it to our volunteers for free. So the community will order, I think we did 20 yards of compost material last year. And at the beginning of each spring, we haul it all in, and then we allow our members to come and just pick up as much compost as they want. And if we need more, we'll cart in more. But they love it. So this label is provided to our volunteers and their 2-gallon bin. And then the little QR code at the bottom, we want data points. It's a pilot study, we need data. So that just links to a really small little survey of it. We also want an open line of communication. So survey of what site did you use, how much compost they dropped off, and if there's a problem with the site. So they can report contamination, they can report overflow, and then each site is serviced once a week. So the composting facility, they basically have a garbage truck that goes and picks up their food waste, and every Friday they go service it, and every Thursday I go and inspect every site, just to kind of have an idea of how much food waste we're getting, and if there is a problem, we can deal with it as soon as it happens. You can go ahead to the next slide. So we opened it up to 600 volunteers, but we estimated based on surveys, we probably had about 450 active members. So this slide, the coloring is not great, and I apologize. It's probably very hard to see that. On my little computer screen, it looked great, but I didn't consider that it would be on a big screen. Over the year, we ended up collecting about 170,000 pounds of food waste from about 450 volunteers, which I believe worked out to be about 7 pounds a month from each individual, if it was 450. So that's a lot of food waste from an individual household. And a lot of people, I forgot to mention this, we opened up an email. So it's just Canton at Michigan, MICHENV, and that goes directly to me. So all of our communication with our members goes from me, because the township wanted to be entirely hands-off. So I do all the communication with our volunteers when we have a new drop-off site, data about how the program's going, and then they can also communicate with me directly through that email. So any questions, concerns, suggestions, it's constant. I monitor that every single day. So I've had a lot of people reach out, and they're like, I had no idea how much food waste that my house, we were throwing away like 3 bags of trash a week, and now we're down to a half bag, and it's pretty incredible. And food waste takes up a lot of space, it's heavy, so it definitely makes a big difference. So that's our trend throughout the year, and you can go to the next slide. So in 2024, it exceeded all of our expectations. We didn't really know what to expect, but the general perception of the program was so positive, and we had a bunch of people reaching out to us throughout the year about getting involved. So we have now opened it up to anybody, and we have open enrollment. We still enroll people just so we can provide the bin, and we can still keep an idea of kind of estimate how many people are involved and look at the numbers, the amount of food waste, just so we just want to keep an idea of the amount of people that are participating. And we've opened up, we're now up to 5 drop-off centers, and we have a 6th one that will be opening up within the next 2 weeks. And it's going to become a permanent program for the community. And over the first quarter of this year, we have collected about 40,000 pounds of food waste, and we've gotten 475 new volunteers just since the beginning of the year. So there's a lot of interest, and it's kind of word of mouth at this point, where our old participants, they've gotten their friends and family involved. So, and we've had people from other townships and cities ask if they can use our drop-off sites, which not right now, but we can set something up for you. So you can go to the next one. So this is our trend line from last year versus this year. So there's already a pretty significant difference in the amount just with the new people. It follows the same general trajectory, but we're exceeding last year already, which is very exciting to see that it hasn't fizzled off and people are genuinely interested and excited about it. So I'm not really the numbers guy, but I do have a basic cost breakdown. A lot of it kind of comes down to how many sites a community has open, how often they're serviced. Like you can service once a week, twice a week, every other week. We don't do any more than every other week. And it also depends on like the distance from the facility that does the composting. So, but we do, like for Canton, we provided the 2-gallon bins to each individual, which it starts off at $3.60 per unit, but as you, in different increments, the amount that you order, it's less. So, and then the 64-gallon garbage cans are one-time purchase, and then there's a drop-off fee, and then a weekly servicing fee. So, but I'm more involved in the actual community involvement and the composting rather than the money side of things. But that's the last of my slides, and yeah, if you guys have any questions, I am more than happy to answer.
Yeah, I got a couple of them. Thank you for that. What's the size of Canton Township, roughly?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say, I have it on my laptop, so I can look it up and let you know before I leave today, because I don't remember off the top of my
But
head.
I'm assuming it's smaller than Kalamazoo.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah.
And the other question I had is around when you said it was made permanent this year, what was the difference from the pilot to making it permanent?
Not necessarily a big difference. It's just in growth. If it wasn't successful, we would have just done, we're not doing this program anymore, or we would have shifted gears and looked into a different alternative to composting that people might be more interested in. But we're making it permanent. We'll probably do permanent signage at each site that has like the QR code if people want to fill it out. It says what you can and can't compost. We'll probably have more trash cans at each site, because like a plastic garbage bag can't be composted. So we'll have more permanent fixtures to make it a little bit more accessible, that we didn't want to put the money towards at the beginning, just in case. And then having it open to anybody in the community is welcome to participate at this point. So this way it's just accessible to the entire community.
Thank you.
I'll follow up on Steve. I'm curious about the demographics of Canton Township. Is it a really affluent suburb of Detroit?
There definitely is a significant portion that is a very affluent community, but they also have some of the more the less affluent areas as well. So we try to market to each community, and we actually have a map of Canton Township with different color codes for different demographic breakdowns, and we try to place our sites initially so they're really well spread out. They're not like all out at the city center, and then the eastern side has some of the less affluent areas. We have a drop off right there on the eastern side of the community. So we try to make it super accessible, and having the free bins, like we want to make it open to anybody involved. And we're also trying to market towards schools as well. So students can bring home little flyers to their parents and say, hey, this is a cool thing that my school is doing. So that opens it up to anybody that's in Canton. And every parent goes to school, so it's very accessible. Well, we try to make it as accessible as possible.
Do you have an overall cost per year to the township?
Yes. So the township pays everything, so the community does not have to pay it. Mm-hmm. So in that, like I said before, that comes down to how many sites they have open and how often they're serviced, and there's a lot of different variables. And the composting facility is, I'd say, about 30 minutes away, but we've gotten quotes from them to service some sites that are like 2 hours away, and It's a pretty significant difference. So it really comes down to program specifics, but the township does pay for it.
Yeah, and what's the budget allocation per year for this township? And the size of the township population would probably make a...
Definitely. For the pilot study, it was 50,000, and I don't remember the exact breakdown for the expansion, but we did double it. So I don't know remember the exact numbers though.
Yeah, thank you. Last question is, how is your contamination rate, or any with trash and other recyclables or whatever?
Surprisingly, the entire pilot study year, we had 23 carts, and they were each serviced once a week, and we only had one bin that ended up being unusable. So a lot of the volunteers are super fantastic, and I get emails constantly of a photo. They're like, I found this plastic bag and I pulled it out for you. So a lot of the participants are really diligent and really care a lot, and I inspect the bins every Thursday and I'll pick out what I can find. But for the most part, people are really conscientious. The people that do it are the people that care. So we haven't really had a huge issue. And also, I didn't mention this, there's a big issue with pests and odors. We didn't have any issues with like raccoons or any sort of wildlife getting into the bins, which was very exciting. And then no complaints about odors. It gets a little smelly in the really hot summer months, but we have each bin lined with a BPI liner. So that BPI bag is compostable. It's made out of plant materials and fibers. So every week they just pull that bag out so the carts aren't getting really dirty. And if they do, we'll hose them out. But we haven't really had an issue with residual odors or issues with pests at all, which was very exciting. No problem.
Yeah. Have you guys had an excess of compost remaining? I know people are allowed to come pick it up, but what are you doing with the extra?
We don't have any extra. We have people asking for more. We had people literally pull up with their cars and pull out garbage cans, and they were just filling garbage cans with compost. So if we had excess, we would probably, there's community gardens, schools. I'm sure that we could find a use for it. I'm sure there's plenty of places that would be happy to use it, but we did not have that problem.
Are you doing any kind of testing for the final product to see if it's good for different kinds of uses, basically?
So the facility that we use is accredited, and they do all that they do all of the testing. All of their testing results are available on their website. So we don't do that, but our facility is a very, very They turn out a very good, nutritious product. I had a couple of volunteers last year email me like, this is gold. They're like, this is some of the best compost I've ever seen, and they were excited because they felt they contributed to it. And that's the rewarding part about this program is there's such a mentality of, well, I'm just one person. What can I really do to help? There's nothing I can do, but this is a great way to get it to reach people at the individual level of this is how you can help the landfill problem, the environment, and it's so simple. It just scrape your plate into a different bin. So it's been really great.
I was wondering how you guys surveyed the residents before the program.
So I think there were flyers sent out. They have a really active Facebook page. So there was a survey on the Facebook page, their website, they're really active with their website. So they had a survey there. So anybody that follows them on Facebook or checked their mail or looked at their website, the survey was right there. You know, we're interested in doing this. Who's interested? Who knows anything about this? Who needs to know more about this? And we actually have a video. It's not out yet, but Canton is producing like a little commercial about this program specifically that they'll broadcast out. And then for the future development of our program, we're trying to market to businesses like restaurants as well. And then we'll send things out to schools to try to get more parents involved as well.
Any more questions?
I think I had one more. Would you happen to have like a picture of these drop-off sites or like the carts that you use?
I do. I can email one so he can put it up on the screen. I have my laptop back here, so I can definitely send one out.
All right, for sure. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Can we ask questions? Sorry. Are you permitted to talk about who the contract hauler is or who picks up the?
So the compost facility that we send our compost to is called Spur Industries. So that's just the name of, they are the ones that turn the compost and they'll come pick it up. So they're located in Wixom.
Can you say that into?
Sorry. The facility that does the compost pickup or does the food waste turning into compost is called Spur Industries, and they're located in Wixom, and they'll handle the pickup of the food waste.
I have a second question, if that's okay. The permanent program, it sounds like it's about $100,000 a year. Do you have any information about how the township plans to fund that or pay for that?
So that's kind of a estimated number. I don't know if we're on the trajectory to reach that. That's just what we decided as an arbitrary number for now. And we work with the township pretty constantly. I send a weekly update to them so they kind of know where we're going. So it's kind of in the stages of development of we'll see where we end up, but there are like Eagle has grants. There's a couple different sustainability-based grants out there that we've helped them apply for, and I don't know specifics of how the township's funding it. I just know that there are multiple avenues that they have looked into. I just don't know exactly what they ended up going with. Could you hear me well enough? I was trying to talk to the side, so perfect. Thank you.
Haley, I think this is primarily residential participation at this time.
Yes.
Has there been any discussion about allowing commercial entities like school lunch programs, restaurants, businesses, whatever, can they drop off material from their waste stream also?
We are trying to get more involvement for
Yeah.
commercial and schools. It gets a little bit difficult with allowing them to have public access because the township will pay for public access sites, but a lot of facilities or restaurants don't have the infrastructure to have that set up for public access. So that's kind of a new topic that we have been discussing, but we don't have an answer on yet. We've been trying to figure out how to tackle it.
Sure enough.
So, but we'd love to get that worked out.
I had one more question. Do you know the names of like the other townships or cities that are interested in what you're doing?
We've had a couple that have had just a little interest, but it hasn't really gained much traction. The problem is that it is a cost, so there's not really a financial. They don't get money for it. So we don't have any other communities that we have worked with that's gone anywhere. But we talked to a couple of the neighboring communities to Canton about potential interest. So we'll see where that goes. All right.
Great. If you want to stick around, we're going to have the city waste coordinator speak to what we're already doing here, and maybe we can have more discussion.
Thank you.
I had mistakenly went to the community room. You guys have upgraded since last time I was here, so congrats, way to go. What a fantastic program to hear about, and obviously we're all interested in something similar, so thank you for being here and sharing what is going on in Canton Township. My name is Chris Broadbent. I serve as the solid waste coordinator for the city here and work out of the public services admin department over on Stockbridge. I'm going to talk a little bit about the last few months of solid waste management, also known as materials management. Think about your curbside programs, recycling, brush pickups, bulk trash. And we also have a drop-off event coming up this Saturday, which I brought some flyers for. I'll pass those to Justin, and he can pass them around if you're interested. So a large part of my work is with the contractors who do the hauling from curbside for our residents and city users. In January, we recycled 161 tons of material from the curbside programs. And We've added paper cups, like coffee cups. Justin's got one over there, actually, that can go in the cart. Empty, clean, and dry. You can put the entire coffee cup plus that number 6 extruded polystyrene rigid plastic lid in the cart as well. So we're constantly evaluating the materials that can be recycled and working with our haulers and the material recovery facility to add new items to the cart and increase our volumes. Next slide, if you could, please. By February, we were up to 183 tons of recycled materials, and we decreased the reported number of misses down to 8. So feeling like anytime we can keep that recycle pickup number down below 10 for almost 12,658 service stops seems like a great month for our hauler. Of course, those reports come in through the 311 Solution Center, and then we process those on, and the haulers have 48 hours to go pick up that material. Right now, and over these last 2 months, we've seen quite a few misses occurring in the construction zones. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's busy in those sites, and there's a lot of activity that might prevent the haulers from getting in. And all of our haulers use a side automated arm to scoop up the carts, and that happens to be on the right-hand side of the vehicle. And some of the construction zones only allow traffic one way right now, as I'm sure you've seen. So we're working through that challenge and trying to support our residents as best we can. We've printed some reflective stickers with their address numbers to help identify the carts, and we're trying to get people to move those carts to the cross streets for efficient pickups. The haulers have been really receptive to that, as well as the construction crews. And the residents, I think, are quickly realizing with consistency, there's an advantage to having that cart picked up. Next slide, if you could, please, Justin. So in March, we were down to 157 tons of recycled material. I'm trying to find out from the hauler if something is going on tracking-wise, or some of the routes are not being accurately tracked. There was an issue with the scale at the recycle haulers facility, which has since been resolved. We had our first bulk trash month in March and collected 269 tons of bulk trash at the curb. The hazardous waste stat you see there is actually materials collected on city properties, city offices, city facilities. Think about public services at Stockbridge and public services at the wastewater facility over at Harrison as being kind of the largest 2 contributors to that. A lot of that weight was inflammable material. So it's great for us to be able to take that to the Household Hazardous Waste Center over on Lamont and participate in that as a small business. So they do invoice us for those items. At the same time, our residents are able to bring their materials to the hazardous waste free of charge. Again, this year and into the future, we're committed to that. On Saturday, we've got our next and first EPS foam recycling event for 2024. And I believe this is a project that's probably near and dear to a lot of your hearts. EPS foam is a fascinating product that I've been learning more and more about since I started in this job. It's forever recyclable, can be turned into construction materials, insulation boards, roof sheathing, crown molding, molds, CD jewel cases. I know Justin is still buying CDs, but other people might be encountering them there. I pick on Justin because I know he would do the same if or when the roles are reversed here. And so we're looking forward to that event. Electronics can also be recycled at that event, free to drop off. Our partners, Chupon, does the recycling of the electronics. We've got shredding services for paper shredding, and we're also starting to take more products through TerraCycle and get those recycled through the mail in their facility at Aurora, Illinois. So for us, that'll be oral care products, toothbrushes, toothpaste tubes, floss packs, flossers, those items that are part of your oral care routine but are not eligible to go in the cart. Bring them to the drop-off events quarterly. And we're really excited, effective April 1st, but coming up with some dumpster changeouts by the beginning of next month. Our city properties will have commingle recycling for the city buildings, city offices, city facilities, public safety stations are all going co-mingle with our new contract with Waste Management, who handles the on-property dumpster service for the city. So recycle and waste dumpsters are now going co-mingle for the city properties. The residents have been co-mingle since 2017. This is a great change for our city and our facilities, and we're very excited about that moving forward.
I just have a question.
Of course.
I'm just fascinated by toothbrushes. Are you talking toothbrushes, dental floss? I mean,
yes. So there's a program through TerraCycle and their partner, Colgate, that offers free recycling for those materials. The only catch is you have to gather them and then ship them out for them to recycle them at their facility.
but we could bring it.
April 20th, yeah. And July 13th and October 12th and December 28th this year.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's new.
Thank you.
It's a new service for us, and so we're bringing it online. I just keep thinking about what materials can be recycled, but not in our carts or by our material recovery facility, and there are many, including food and food scraps, as we heard about earlier. So just continuing to look at and expand and find ways to make that happen. So that business is called TerraCycle. And actually, we just had our first shipment received of coffee pods. If you're familiar with the K-Cups, the coffee pods, often not recyclable in the cart because they still contain the coffee and have that film lid. They have a program through TerraCycle where they will recycle those and use the coffee grounds for compost. So we had 14 pounds of coffee pods received, and we've actually added bins for those types of materials at City Hall, at Harrison wastewater facility, and across the Stockbridge Public Services.
Are those ones available to the public too, or?
They
The coffee
could
program?
use that program. There is a fee for that. We pay for the prepaid to send them shipped full. So people across this country, I think, could use TerraCycle's products and businesses. We're not at a point where we can accept all those coffee pods yet.
Okay, just asking.
These are great questions, and I'm happy to field any and all of them.
The one that comes to mind is, and I probably have the brand name wrong, but it's the Tetra Paks, the bone broth, the soy milk, all those kind of, it seems like our family uses those regularly, and it's just, there's no recycling for those, at least curbside.
Yes, correct. As far as I've been learning, there are two types of cartons. There's the gable-topped carton, like an orange juice or an almond milk or oat milk type product, what I would consider to be a refrigerated product or freezer product. Ice cream cartons could be another great example. Those can go in the cart, same as the paper cups. It's a new product that we're able to get into the cart now. Might not have been historically that way, but those particular types of cartons and paper items can go in the cart. What you mentioned, Tom, the aseptic type materials, like for your shelf stable, your chicken broths or your vegetable broths, they have an aluminum, plastic, silver lining inside. Those cannot be recycled curbside at this time for us. I do know that you could mail those off through TerraCycle. They have a variety of programs that will do that, but that's a for-profit business that operates mostly online, and we're starting to learn more about. So, yeah, great questions.
Question for you. Do you envision having more than just quarterly pickups? Because I've gotten jammed up more than one time that I just can't make it down there on that weekend.
For the electronics and the EPS phone?
Yeah, mostly the EPS stuff. I mean,
Sure.
'cause that stuff starts building up in a hurry if you get a couple of things, so.
Yeah, while we're here in the city commission room, let me dream a little bit in this beautiful spot. And yeah, I envision a city where people can drop off those materials, 3-4 days a week, more open times, more accessible than just once a quarter. Admittedly, we have to start somewhere, and we've started at a great location and number of times. The challenge, I think, is let's get more materials than we can accept quarterly and prove that we need more hours, more availability for those types of things. I've been looking into some other programs that could help us with densifying the foam. There's a compressed hydraulic densification process. There's also a thermo densification process where the EPS foam, which is 98% air, gets densified down into smaller ingots. And I actually had a coffee conversation with a person who works at Atlas Molded Products and Atlas Roofing in Byron Center. And they actually buy all of the EPS foam that we recycle through our program from DART and then turn into roof sheathing, geoforming for road building or terraforming activities, concrete wall building forms, and the aforementioned CD jewel cases. But I agree. I think we need to be thinking about and finding ways that we can recycle more materials than we throw into the landfill. Food scraps and food scrap recycling is a great avenue to look at as well. The EPS foam, when it does go into the landfill, that's all airspace. And that material, as I've learned and probably others are too, can be recycled and turned into something else and is sought after to the tune of $10,000 a trailer full of that densified foam material. When we get it, it's, in its original state, it's, takes 70 bags to fill the trailer, but a lot of that is just airspace. When it's densified down, that's 70 pallets plus of material.
So I guess that begs the question then, what kind of capacity are you, or how much are you collecting quarterly? Is it getting anywhere near full or still struggling with that?
We do fill the EPS foam trailer every quarter, and we actually fill underneath the trailer as well. We're at about probably 2 trailers worth a quarter when we collect. We have volunteers that work with local businesses like Dimplex over on Emerald Drive that brings their material in. There are some faith-based organizations here downtown, right next door, or St. Thomas More Church up in the West Main Hill neighborhood, for example, and others that collect the material all the time for drop-offs. And maybe that would have been a better answer to your previous question too. And then those volunteers bring the material to our trailer. So we're always at, kind of filling that and having DART come to pick up the material. When they come down here, they bring an empty truck, fill it up. It's a lot of air that they're moving back and forth from Mason and Kalamazoo, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 trips. So thinking about how can we make that a little bit more greenhouse gas efficient in that process and potentially add value.
I had a quick question. You might have already mentioned it and I missed it, but I know you wanted to say that you want to increase your volume. Are you looking into having more recycling bins in places in other neighborhoods? Like I know there are some that I've been to where they don't have, recyclables collected, like the ARBs, for instance. So I guess, do you have any strategies that are working towards expansion, I guess, in the city?
Yeah, great question. I think about closing the recycle cart gap. So our service provider says they make 12,658 single-family home stops in the city of Kalamazoo. I think there's 20,000 plus single-family homes in the city, so that's a gap of almost 8,000 carts. I think that exists because our current contract is an opt-in contract, so when a resident opts in to recycle, our hauler takes them a cart to participate in that. The gap being not everybody knows they need to opt in or not everybody wants to opt in at this point. So we're talking about how can we address that either through grant funding or a campaign to recruit people to sign up, or an incentive of, if you recruit a friend to get a cart, maybe you earn a small incentive or something like that. I would say, the curbside carts are really a great program to have and a, fantastic more equitable way to increase recycling participation. A lot of our work right now is also on behavior change around the recyclables. So making sure people are participating regularly with their cart, setting out the right materials and avoiding bagging up the materials. I would say I'm open to all ideas on how we can close that gap for residents that have single-family homes, for those that use what we call a multi-unit, which would be like 5 homes plus per address. We're working on closing that gap by adding carts or front-load dumpster infrastructure for those properties, finding out who and where they are, and bringing those materials to them. We've secured some almost $300,000 plus from Eagle and the Recycle Partnership to work on these 2 programs, the behavior change with single-family homes and increasing the participation for our multi-units across the city. But I'm open to any suggestions and ideas on how we can work towards that, because I agree. Let's find more ways to recycle more materials and make it easier for people to participate in that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Did we cut you off? Did you have more of a presentation too?
No, I'm
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
I'll be happy to come back and chat anytime. And there should be more information coming soon for the behavior change grant. We're about to drop almost 2,000 little bins that people can use inside their home to collect their recyclables. And for the multi-families or multi-units, a little later this year, we'll be giving them tote bags that they can use to collect the materials. And then when they dump that into their dumpster or cart at their property, there's a little thank you message on the bottom from us to them for doing that. So a lot of great resources coming our way for our residents. And there is kind of that service gap that we want to work to close. I would see kind of a combination of both. A drop-off center and closing that cart gap is really helping us, continue to be on that leading edge for Michigan and for the country on recycling. I did not mention Tire Blitz, but that's June 11th. Thank you, Vice Mayor. June 11th, free tire drop-off and recycling at 322 East Stockbridge.
And you can
I
go.
was just going to ask you if you have any experience doing tire collections, because I have a whole bunch of I train people who do household hazardous waste in many communities, and many of those are rural communities, and you need a football team or a ton of sheriff's department trustees plugging away, stuffing them into the semi. I mean, it's a really labor-intensive process.
Yeah, I have not participated myself, but I've heard the warnings about stretching and taking care of my body in order to be able to participate with that. This will be my first season doing that.
Van Buren County would be a good contact. Just talk
Nice.
to Emily there, and she could share the war stories.
Thank you. I do know we will have a contracted service provider on hand as well. Student haulers that does a lot of the code enforcement cleanups will be part of that team on that day too. So I'll try not to get hurt.
And wear really funky clothes, because the tires will be full of water and mud. And are you taking tires with rims? Because that's another question that needs to be addressed.
That is a question I don't have the answer to, but I will find out.
Because there's usually an upcharge for tires that come in on rims.
Good question. So years ago, the city did a trial for compost pickup service, and since we have our guest today, I was wondering if you wanted to speak towards any future long-term plans that the city may have to look towards that.
I can appreciate the opportunity. So we are talking about what we could do around that. I think the drop-off program is working for other communities, and it might make sense for us to align with something similar to that. We've been in communications with My Green Michigan, which it looks like maybe some of these bins might also be associated with. and we were about to start having compost at the National Night Out events, and that's still kind of up for discussion if we're able to secure that for the various neighborhoods. I had said the other day, and I'll say it again, I'd like to see us continue to work towards having more materials recycled than we put in the landfill. Food is going to be a big part of that. Food scraps, of course, and I'm talking about food scraps that don't have any other nutritional value or use for feeding people who are hungry or animals that are hungry, but then finding a way to recycle those materials afterwards. I'd like to see us, have a comprehensive approach to all of that, and appreciate the other speaker being here to share their experience in making that happen in another township. I think it's possible.
I kind of have a related question. I like our little tile format for the waste updates. Is there any way we could get a graph that shows the change, thank you, in the amount recycled and the amount that is sent to landfill kind of when we have these updates? Because sometimes when I'm just looking at the numbers, I'm like, oh, that's a number, that's cool. And I'd love to see the ratios and how that shifts. I know that's more work though.
Are you asking for one chart?
I think we could just do like a line chart that has one line for trash and one line for recycle, and then we can see if one's going up and one's going down, if there's, what that difference is. Mm-hmm. But, whatever looks legible, I think just would be helpful.
Sure. I'd be happy to provide that.
Thank you.
At some point in the near future.
Do it now.
All right, Tressa.
Okay.
I'll just jump in here. So what you're saying, you'd want to see the numbers of materials going to landfills in relation to the recycling.
Yeah, and I think it would be nice to have it really broken down, but I think even just having the recycling number and the landfill number could be very informative, and then we could see during these updates if there is a change over time, and it'll be really clear if it's like we're looking at the past 6 months or the past year or something like that. We can see our own progress, which would be helpful.
Yeah, Chris and I talk about this almost like we have to look at a waste audit. The problem with the trash too is there's multiple. So with the hauler here is, they're kind of beholden to us. We have a contract with them. I guess don't hold your breath on that, but we're on it. Because Chris and I have been talking about a waste audit, because we don't know what we throw out here in the community. That goes back to the greenhouse gas emissions report, where there's all estimates, but a waste audit would let us know. And it would also demonstrate the need for a composting system. Who knows? Maybe no one's throwing out any food waste here in the city. It's a stretch, but we don't know how much we're throwing out, so.
True.
Yeah, a waste audit would also be awesome. I just want these numbers, so I can see them over time.
Understand?
Yeah.
To be clear, I only really interact with the landfill number in terms of the bulk trash program. I will ask and see what I can learn from the other haulers in terms of their private contracts with residents. I'm fascinated by that question too, and I think about not just our residents, but our businesses, and it was mentioned earlier about schools and other institutions that participate in this. All of those types of places have people operating in them that are generating recyclable materials or recyclable content, whether it's food scraps or EPS foam. I think the opportunity is right before us to make this shift for our community. So I'd be happy to provide that information, and Sharon or Justin can contact me about that, and be happy to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and sharing all this. This is really helpful information. I wanted to add one slightly humorous comment that through the bulk city trash, there's a huge amount of metal recycling that we cannot account for. But it goes on in every neighborhood. Every time there's a bulk trash collection, there are pickup trucks combing through everything that's put on the curbside. So tons and tons on a weekly basis. So if you could take credit for it in some way, it'd be great, but I don't know how to do that.
I could appreciate that invitation. Thank you. What I can say, and I actually probably should have said, is that by the time June's quarterly bulk trash program starts, we're actually not going to be accepting EPS foam, electronics, or recyclable material in the bulk trash. So the scrappers will have to get to that material first, but then if it's still there by the time the contracted hauler comes through, they're going to not take that material, leave it, and also we've generated a leave behind tag that they will fill out and say, this is why we didn't take your material. We call it outside program guidelines. In the past, it had been things like concrete, paint, hazardous materials, tires, those types of things. Now we're saying, okay, no longer can you put your EPS foam, your electronics, or your otherwise readily recyclable materials at the curb, because we, as a city, already pay for those to be managed in a different format, in a different way, and responsibly. I believe it's the appropriate thing for us to do to try to stop landfilling those materials in our one landfill program.
Any other questions?
I would just say thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for dedicating your time to be part of this group.
Thank you so much for presenting. Okay, next. Oh, yeah, sure.
So this is our photo of our largest food waste drop-off site. The one bin, there is a liner in there, but sometimes they fall in. So this is the before photo before I fix anything. So that's just what it looks like. It's it's not a permanent setup right now, so that's kind of where we want to move towards. And then this is what the photos look like. So I'll take a photo of each bin specifically so we have an idea of what we're seeing. Paper bags are compostable. That's a question I get a lot. So, and then if there's like a plastic grocery bag, which his cursor is on right now, we'll pull that out and then dump the food waste in. So that's what they look like.
Thank you as well. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. The first there is Kalamazoo River litter issue. Getting feedback if you're not speaking, if you could turn your mic off. Okay, well, this weekend, we're coming up to Earth Day. There's several cleanups in the area. If you aren't familiar with where the closest one is to you, definitely check it out. But I know there's a Vine neighborhood one, 11 to 2, and then the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council is also helping with one on Saturday. Don't have the time for that one in front of me, but there's the Rotary Club is helping with that too. Just look, and there are so many different litter pickups this weekend. So if you could participate in one, that'd be awesome.
I think that one is from 11 a.m. to 3, if I remember correctly.
And it starts at Mayor's Riverfront, I think, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, and then the next waste update, we already did that. So community sustainability plan, did you have some updates for us?
Yeah, so there's 3 things we're working on right now. April 27th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Girl Scouts Regional Training Facility on Maple Street, doing what we're calling a Natural World Symposium. There'll be 3 speakers. One speaker is on invasive species. The next speaker will be on an urban deer and problems surrounding that. And then the final speaker will be on natural lawns and, kind of moving away from turf grass, things like that. So 9 to 2, you have 3 speakers. In between, you'll have local kind of conservation, environmental groups tabling and talking. So it's really an attempt to build community, get folks to think of themselves as participants in the natural world and not just kind of citizens of Kalamazoo. Should be exciting, light refreshments. The Girl Scouts will be selling cookies there as well. Yep. So that's the big event that we have coming up.
Is that free?
Yeah, that's free. Yep, just drop in. No registration. You can register online, so we'll get an idea. The first 50 attendees who are residents of Kalamazoo will get a No Mow May yard sign they can put in their yard. So the city is doing No Mow May again. I'll probably have Alexa talk about that in a minute after I tell you about the grant. So last time we met, there was a question about a grant that we use to purchase electric vehicle charging stations. That grant is an energy efficiency and conservation block grant from the U.S. Department of Energy. And then we'll just have Alexa briefly talk about the No Mow May program and what you can do if you want to participate.
So, like Justin said, you can pick up a No Mow May sign at the Natural World Symposium on April 27th. You do not need a lawn sign to participate in No Mow May, though, but we are going to have a sign-up sheet on the city website on the No Mow May page to get an idea of who's participating. And then if you are participating, there are a couple of places in your lawn that you will still have to mow. Otherwise, you will be exempt from the tall grass and weed nuisance violation notice for the month of May. But the 4 places that do need to be mowed are the entire curb lawn between the street and sidewalk, or if no curb lawn, then at least 5 feet back from the road edge, at least 1 mower width on private property, the house side of the public sidewalk, at least 1 mower width on any walkway approach to the front porch, and at least 3 feet immediately adjacent to the neighboring property lines. Any questions? Okay.
Actually, I do have one question. With the neighboring, with the neighboring property lines, if you and your neighbor are both participating in No Mow May, does that still hold or no?
I'll say, oh gosh, let me think about this. So, yeah, if I mow and they mow, I don't want to put anything in the record. I'll check. But,
fair enough.
Yeah, work with your neighbor on that one. Yeah.
The next item is mode shift updates. I don't remember that being something we were going to speak about, I guess. Did you have something in mind specifically for that we were waiting to get an update on?
No, I think that was just on the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that should not have been there.
But I might have put it on there as well, so.
Sorry, I'm trying to compare my version versus this one. I believe we are on to the reports. Yep. So, NFP Review Board.
All right. Hello. NFP did not meet at the last month just because there were no agenda items. I am going to throw this out to this board, though, because I am technically termed off of the NFP, but am still serving on it temporarily because I represent the only geoscientist on that. There are some tree expert folks and some other people from other backgrounds. So if you guys know any geologists, hydrogeologists, environmental scientists in the area that you might steer towards the Natural Features Protection Board, that would be great. I express that I'm willing to stay on there as that representation of expertise until such time, but the city is looking for someone to fill that slot. So that's the news for NFP. I'll go right into air and water, but as a jazz musician, I'm going to do water and air instead. Announcement that came out last week, April 10, the federal EPA, under the Safe Drinking Water Act, set new national primary drinking water regulation maximum concentration limits for 6 regulated PFAS chemicals. And if you've been following PFAS in drinking water and in other media, since 2021, when a lot of the studies have started, the target concentration limit has usually been around 70 parts per trillion. However, these are the now legally enforceable maximum concentration levels in drinking water. For PFOA, it's 4.0 parts per trillion. That's quite an order of magnitude from 70 to 4. PFOS is also 4.0. There's a group called PFH sub XS, that's at 10 parts per trillion, and PFNA is also at 10 parts per trillion. Then there's a loose association of what they call the Gen X chemical group within the PFAS, and those are also at 10. So of those 6, like I think 2 of them are at 4, the others are at 10, and then there's some special regulations that I'm not going to go into that there's a formula for calculating if you have multiple ones. So what does this mean for public water systems? Well, they have from now that this is law, federal law, they have 3 years or until 2027 to complete initial monitoring followed up by regular compliance monitoring. So I would think it would be pretty hard to find a municipal water supply system that is not already evaluating these chemicals within their drinking water, but by 2027, they have to be on a regular basis. You have up to 5 years to implement solutions to reduce levels if you find that any of those compounds exceed those maximum concentration limits. So that means by 2029, if there are exceedances, you have to implement solutions. And the other side of that component is that beginning in 29, and I don't know what the monitoring interval is, whether it's monthly or something along those lines, but if your community water supply exceeds one or more of those maximum concentration limits for the respective class of PFAS, you must provide public notification of that violation. So that's what's come down in the area of water from the federal level. I'll switch to air. I always monitor the EPA Air Now system, and pretty much daily in this part of the state, it's been pretty good. That is an EPA run program, and you could just look that up anytime on your computer and look at what it's like for your location for your given day, and then you can also look at trends over time. This specifically targets ozone and particulate matter 2.5 micron, which is, right, the smaller the particles are, the more dangerous they are to human health and safety. In general, an air quality index of less than 50 is the good zone, and we've been in the 10, 20, 30 zone numbers pretty regularly. More close to home, I also look at the EnviroSuite monitors that are located down near our wastewater treatment plant and a paper recycling company in this town. I try to look at those in general. The EnviroSuite monitors have been very level. Maybe this is in direct response to the change that was done at the junction of the plumbing, right, with graphic packaging and our wastewater treatment plant. So hopefully that is having a desired effect. Interestingly, EPA does not have jurisdiction. They do not set limits on ambient air hydrogen sulfide. However, OSHA does set limits on human exposure to those. And just for your own edification, an 8-hour time-weighted average permissible exposure limit is 20 ppm. And the idea is that within any 10-minute time span, you should not exceed 50. And what I've been noticing from the EnviroSuite monitors for ambient air, generally the highest little spike I ever see on any given day is around 6 parts per million. So we're looking good over there. Now that doesn't address whether or not people are experiencing other effects due to, remember, this only monitors hydrogen sulfide concentrations at those monitoring stations. Again, the other difficulty from a nuisance standpoint is I don't know how one monitors offensive odors, right? There's not a criteria for that necessarily. But anyway, that's air and water.
Wildlife and natural resources protection.
I do not have any updates, so.
Okay. I did notice that the Peregrine Falcon live stream is back because we were expecting babies soon. So if anyone's interested in following that, it's always a good time. I don't know more than that. I haven't checked it out yet, but that was just a recent thing. So If one's been born, let me know. But, okay. Next is Planning Commission. Rachel wasn't able to make it today, and she said that there was no meeting, so there's no update there. And then Tree Committee.
Tree Committee did not meet in April, and there wasn't enough on the agenda to warrant a meeting. In the meantime, I've been tasked with researching Urban Forest Network and what other cities are doing to possibly find the best use for harvested wood within within a city. I spoke with the city of Ann Arbor. They have an urban forester coordinator. They have a brand new program. They've been working with a company known as Urban Ashes, and this is one of the movers and shakers of the national scene. I would like to invite him to our next meeting, if that's possible, to get on the agenda. He volunteered to come and talk to us. I'm also going to invite some of the tree committee to come and listen to what they're doing. Now, I know that we're time limited, but if we had time, I have a 6-minute video that's been produced by the city of Ann Arbor and Urban Ashes. It kind of gives you an idea of exactly what they have in mind. But one of the takeaways I took from talking to the city of Ann Arbor is this. They view trees as an important part of becoming carbon neutral by 2035 because of the carbon thank you. Help me with my pronunciation. You know what I mean.
Sequestration.
Sequestration, thank you. And they also, it's not as simple as just having someone come pick up the trees. They view their trees as assets, and as soon as you get city managers involved, they want to know, what are you going to sell them for to potential buyers? So it's a long process. It's not like, oh yeah, by next year we'll have the switch turned, but I think it's the beginning of a good process.
Is there any chance that you can share that video just through email?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can send it as an email.
That'd be great.
Really well done. Really nicely done video.
Did we have that ready if we have time at the end, but I don't know if we will. Or we could wait till next month when you have a guest. Okay.
Yeah, I have it. I can try it if we want. I don't know if there'll be sound.
Okay, let's just email it, and then we'll plan if they're able to make it next month. That sounds good. I'll add that to the agenda. Next, Asylum Life Policy and Management Council. This isn't exactly through them, but there's a garlic mustard pool that I totally have written down. Dang, 1 second. Yeah, I guess everything is, there's no new news. There's an ongoing water treatment project. There wasn't as much snow as we wanted for some of the testing that went on for that, but let me get that, and I'll say that towards the end. But moving on to Parks and Rec.
Nothing significant beyond the Earth Day festivities that have been happening in Bronson Park last weekend and this weekend throughout the city, a bunch more.
Okay, and then Kalamazoo River Watershed Council, that was just the cleanup update from earlier. And then nothing else on the agenda except for we were going to check to see if there's public comment, and while you're checking that, the garlic mustard pool put on by ALPA is Saturday, May 7th from 10 to 3. There's 2 sessions, so 10 to 12 and 1 to 3, and they want everyone to register so that they know the numbers and everything. So you can do that on ALPA's website. Are there any? Oh,
Just a quick question for Asylum. I think they do this annually. Have they scheduled a controlled burn?
Yeah. So that is happening. It's going to. There could be a controlled burn as long as the weather and everything is appropriate anytime between April 9th and May 15th. So they're waiting for the right conditions, and when there's notice, that's going to be posted on things like the Asylum Facebook page and elsewhere. So it's kind of hard to say exactly, but yes, that's in the works as well. And do we have any public comment on the phones? Okay, any other public comment in here? Sure.
Hello all, Jean Hess, Vice Mayor, and I'm really happy. Thank you for your service to this. It's wonderful to come and be with you every month. Just a few things. I know that we talked about recycling of oral care products through the city, but the Be Joyful shop downtown, if you haven't been in there, she takes everything. I take her all my soft plastics. They make eco bricks. There's an eco brick project. I would, if you don't know about that, go ahead and look into it. But people build things with these eco bricks, and you're more than welcome to help her create those bricks. They use like big plastic juice bottles and take smaller pieces of that soft plastic and make these eco bricks and build things really fun. So she does that. She takes everything that you could imagine that you could recycle. There's boxes in front of the store, and she'll do that. I just wanted to mention, too, the bike show that's happening May 11th is here at Bronson Park, and that's be before your next meeting. So that's between 10 and 2, and just bring bikes. And that said, we Monday night approved bicycle lanes on Howard Street and Lovell Street, and those are going to be come into fruition and really improve our bike infrastructure. It's a slow and steady project, and we're committed to that. So again, thank you for your service. And Justin, anything else that I have missed? Okay. I really hope we get that composting. K College has these kind of canisters behind that. They're doing that as well for all of their food scraps. So I hope we can get that composting going. I'll totally vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did have a few other events that I wanted to list off that were Earth Day adjacent as well. Obviously, we've heard about the EPS all day. And there's also Edison Neighborhood Association is doing community garden building and prepping from 11 to 4. The Earth Day, Nature Center Earth Day celebration is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And also there's another green drinks with talking Reforest Vine. So if you're interested in planting trees, that's going to be at Waxwings, Tuesday the 23rd, this coming Tuesday at Waxwings 5 to 7. And then there's also a bird walk at Upjohn Park. No experience necessary if you have binoculars, bring them, but usually people have extra. At Upjohn Park, 5:30 to 7:30 on actual Earth Day, the 22nd. And the Vine Neighborhood cleanup is at Davis Street Park from 11 to 2. And then there's a children's festival with the Children's Naturescape noon to 3 on the 21st. So yeah, that's my list. And then is there any other closing comments from anyone else?
I have one. I know we got that email from LaShondra. Do we have a person specified to take, communications, or do we have like a communications liaison?
That's a great question. I try to most of the time, but there was a question I didn't know how to answer on that one. So I was hoping that she was going to be able to make it today, but we did not get that. So maybe by next month. But typically, yeah. And if you had a better answer, I mean, we're all getting it. But I typically try to make sure that someone's answering it.
Right. Like I had seen it. I just didn't know if somebody had answered it. So, do we have?
I think key in that is if you do answer an email, CC everybody.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Make sure to reply all so that we know. Because I had the same question you did, which is why I wound up responding today. Because it was like, I don't know if anybody's done this, but just in case. And I'll follow up with her tonight. So I'll connect you so maybe she can get the grant name to you. Or whatever it is she read that interested her.
Would it make more sense to have one person, like, even though we could all be CC'd on it? Like, I know you say that you try to get to it, but if somebody had, like, the position and the obligation to with that? I don't know, like, how many emails you guys get, like.
It totally depends. So that's the one that I haven't answered, I should say, probably. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'll go one. So we mentioned the Love the Vine pickup. There's also a pickup in the Stewart neighborhood on April 20th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So just want to throw that one out there as well.
Great. Anyone else? There's probably a lot more, too. Okay. All right. Well, then, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn.